Hey singers, I'm Sara and this is Singing TV, and together you and I are making singing simple. You can see I'm still in the same t-shirt because I'm trying to bang out a few episodes here at home while I have time. And the thing that I want to do this episode about is I've been getting a lot of emails from YouTube watchers and from Singing TV watchers and a bunch of users lately. This is from Veronica Carroll, and it says, I'm 33, live in Pennsylvania, and a beginner worship backup singer in my church. I'd like to learn the fundamentals and work on improving my singing. I love your teaching style and charisma. Thank you. I've learned a lot watching your videos on site and would love to learn more and feel very comfortable with you. I'm so glad you do. Anyway, she goes on to say she'd like to know how you know if you're over-singing, how to get that optimum singing sound, and she feels like she's something straining her voice. So I think that that's something that happens quite a lot, and let's address that. Veronica, the first thing I noticed is that you said that you are a beginning worship backup singer in your church. And very often in certain types of music, which I'll assume for these purposes that you may be singing gospel and a lot of worship music, that often when we sing worship music, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know, right? That's a little low for me, but you get the idea. We do something that the untrained voice naturally wants to do when we hear a lot of pop singers, and that is we take our chest voice way higher than it needs to go. His eye! I can sing there in my chest voice, but there's certainly no need for me to do that. So what I'd like for you to do is to try switching into your higher range, into your head voice. And it may sound a lot more breathy and a lot weaker, and so if you get into a professional situation in your church and somebody says, I need more from you, I need more sound from you, that's often why we switch back into our chest range, because it's naturally a whole lot stronger down there when we, because that's the part of our voice that we've been using ever since we were little, and that's the part of our voice that we use when we talk. So, his eye, it's going to be this really big, chesty sound, when I could sing, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he's watching over me. That kind of thing. Sorry, I don't know the song too well. It was just the first gospel tune that came into my head. So what I'd like for you to do, if you don't know how to access that part of your range, this is for males and females. Males, you'll hear this called falsetto a lot. I don't want to get into a discussion of why we compare falsetto to head voice and whether that's a proper term or not. Let's, for these purposes, say lower range and higher range, or chest voice and head voice. What you can do if you don't know how to access that part of your range is go like this and pretend you're talking and singing like Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse sounds a little higher and breathier, and that's that funny, like, hey, Mickey sound. And it may sound silly the way I'm doing it, but for a lot of people who can't access that part of their range at all, nothing whatsoever, this can be very, very helpful. So if you try and sing like this, or you try and talk like this, that's a B flat. And see if you can hold out and sing that note. And that's accessing your head voice, and I want you to sing up there more often. So that's kind of part one to the answer of this question. The other is this. We very often, when we strain our voices, it has to do with singing a lot too high in our chest voice. So we need to really, really work on our head voice and blending those two together. And we'll do other episodes on that. But the thing that I'm thinking of is when you do strain your voice, or when you do sing too much, or even when you do get sick, those of us who've gotten a cold or a cough or something, very often after we have a cold, we'll find ourselves to be really hoarse, and we'll sing through that. And it's the singing through that's the problem. Naturally, our voices get hoarse, and the reason that they do that is because the vocal folds, just like anything else that is hurt or something in our body, the vocal folds swell. And when the vocal folds swell, that's called, technically in medical terms, that's called vocal edema. And when the vocal folds swell, they can't come together properly when they're vibrating together. When they can't come together, what that means is that you're letting more air through. They'll sound really, really breathy because more air is coming through your cords, and you're literally not able to close them as much. So what you want to do if you're sick and you have cold, or if you just sing too much and you strain your voice and your voice is a little tired, you really want to go on vocal rest. You want to stop singing. which I know sounds hard for a professional like me if I'm singing and teaching several days a week. But for those of you who are just learning to sing, stop exercising your voice, right? Stop doing your warm-ups for a few days until you feel totally better. And the other part of this is that you should never feel that way. You should never feel like your voice is strained. So those of us who know what it feels like to have a hoarse voice, it feels a little bit like it's just harder to phonate. It's harder for our chords to come together. It's harder to make the normal sounds that we usually do. So it'll sound more like, hi, how you doing? Right? There's a lot of air at the onset of the pitch. Hi. And it's going to sound a whole lot more breathy and just kind of forced and strained. It should feel, if that's happening, it'll feel strained. So I want you to not talk. I want you to not sing. I want you to put yourself on voice rest if that happens. And you should know that you should never feel, it should never, when you make any sort of noise with your mouth, whenever you're singing, you should never feel strained. So if you're ever feeling, when you sing, you feel like you're straining in order to hit a note or in order to do anything, whatever you're doing, you should never feel strained. You should never feel like, it's really hard to do that. It may feel very difficult to successfally do what it is that you want to do. Like, that was hard, right? But it shouldn't feel hard on your chords. It should feel like, wow, I'm going to have to, I have to use a lot of breath control, or I didn't quite get that, I have to go over and do it again, or I have to keep practicing it. That's not what I mean. You can certainly keep practicing something, but it should never feel like it hurts to phonate or make a tone. It should never feel like I'm sounding like this and it's really, really hard to make a noise. So I hope, Veronica, that answers your question in terms of straining your voice, and I hope that if you do strain your voice, or if you are straining your voice, that you'll stop. You'll really try to work out your head range, and I hope that if you will, if you get hoarse, either because you're sick or you're over singing, stop for a few days, take a voice rest, until you feel like you can make a sound with your vocal folds that sounds and feels normal, and then you can get back into your regular warm-up routine. I'm Sara Lieb, this is SingingTV.com, and together you and I, we're making singing simple.